Vanarotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamodirayet. Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 17. Srinvatam Swakrata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantaksto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Srinvatam Swakrata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vidyantaksto Yabhadrani Vidhu Noti Surit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, or Super Soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Report by Srila Prabhupada. Messages of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, are not different from him. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastaka declares clearly that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potency. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound, but unfortunately we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's name and activities. We have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting of the holy sound, or the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. Paragraph. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord and has thus become eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. Paragraph. One cannot enter the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult to get rid of such desires. Women and wealth are a very difficult problem for the devotee making progress on the path to Godhead. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to these allurements and thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when one is helped by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. Paragraph. To become restless in the contact of women and wealth is not an astonishment, because every living being is associated with such things from remote time, practically immemorial, and it takes time to recover from this foreign nature. But if one is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his real position. By the grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances. And gradually, all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. Well, that's good news, isn't it? Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschyacha Desatadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This verse number 17 is part of a sequence that goes back towards the beginning of this chapter. All are very nice. They're not exactly chronologically sequential, but they're fundamental to describing or pointing to the bhakti process, specifically Bhagavad Dharma process of hearing, emphasis upon hearing and chanting, the first two of the 9 processes of bhakti, because the first 2 lead to the other 7. And one needs to spend substantial time with 1 and 2. And not just time, but a qualitative, as the two adjectives are used here, offenseless and sincere. A standard question that was asked of Prabhupada, or when Prabhupada would say to emphasize sincerity, the question would come, how do you become sincere? Reasonable question. Prabhupada's answer, how do you become a drunkard? Associating with those that drink, and you become a drinker, and then you become a drunkard. That's how you become a drunkard. How do you become an intellectual? You go to university and study and associate with those who are intellectuals. How do you become the sincere? Associate with those that are sincere. Simple. And then, what's the meaning of sincere? That's a nice question too. I spent some time on this topic, and there's a Latin word that indicates straightforward, or not crooked. Crooked, like hook, not pin. Hook. It appears to be one thing, but it's not what it appears to be. and intentionally or unintentionally, one may portray oneself as such and such, but it's not really such and such. But it's a deception for different reasons. So sincere means straightforward. You say what you mean what you say, and you live your life accordingly. At least striving in that direction, thus straightforwardness. There's etymological derivations of that meaning, but that's simple. So, for example, as Krishna says, Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. So what's the Sarvadharmam? All varieties of dharma. It doesn't mean become your religious, please. Krishna is not indicating become your religious. Throw away dharma. Lie, steal, cheat, please do all those nice things. That's not the indication. Rather, there's different ways of analyzing, but commonly in the Purushartha sequence, dharma is with the intention of artha, economic prosperity, and other fruits of dharma. Doing dharma so you get the fruits of dharma. So don't engage in dharma with that intention behind or in mind. And that plays into the whole sincerity point. To take shelter of Krishna doesn't mean become adharmic, but don't take shelter of Krishna and other forms of dharma with the purpose of getting something. Because one might do the same thing with taking shelter of Krishna. I want. So I've been told, and I may even have experience if I want, there's Krishna's promise. So so we've been discussing this yesterday and so forth. Yatarham upayunjitaha. One who is sincere, Krishna will reward. So I just have to be a little sincere, and I'll get what I want. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. Not like that. Not that kind of dharma. Do something to get something dharma. But without anyabhilasha dushanyam gyan karma janavratam. Same. That's sarvadharma parityaja. Same. Without that fruitive intention or speculative intention, but then it's without those things, then what is it? Anupanyena Krishna Anushilanam. That is Mamekam Sharanam. Same. Sharanam means that Krishna is to be pleased. Simple. It's quite simple. And without being crooked, it's quite simple. But if what is quite simple, but it's sincere, then it's simple. And if one isn't sincere or not simple, one is crooked, it's very complicated. And one starts, it's like, throwing dice or gambling or something. Hope I win. No. Nothing like that. So the line is very straight. The process is straightforward. Here, So hear what? And from what source? Hear about the Lord, or hear his name, or that which is in relation to him, his devotees. That the object and that which is in relation to the object is Krishna. And with the intention of simply becoming and being the servant of, that is, his happiness is everything. And if I find something that brings his happiness, I'm ready. And if I find something that's displeasing, no thank you. Now that's devotional service. That's pure devotional service, unmixed devotional service. And how does that awaken? By the process that's just being described. So here's the verse again. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages. I've been listening to reportings of Srila Prabhupada speaking on the whole story of Prahlad. The section I'm hearing is Canto 7, Chapter 9. And Prahlad is sharing the experience of Lord Brahma. And Prabhupada is explaining that Lord Brahma, to achieve the post of Lord Brahma, one has to be exceptionally pious. In another place, Prabhupada said, 100 lifetimes of flawless varnashram. And if there isn't a qualified person, Vishnu does it himself. He takes that position. It's so important. And with all of that qualification, when he was born on the lotus, he wanted to know, who am I? Important question. He heard the splashing of the Garbhadak ocean beneath him, and he saw the stem from which the lotus was manifest. So he started climbing down the stem and down the stem and down the stem and entered into the Garbhadak ocean. And for hundreds, plural, of his years, he underwent austerities. He was already qualified. And he underwent austerities. And therefore, what about us? To become purified so that he can understand, who am I? Simple thing. And it was revealed to him. So that, the truthful devotee. Truthful, sincere about the inquisitiveness, ready to do what the austerity program that he did was based upon a sound vibration that he heard, 3 times. So he's intelligent. He knew what that meant. So he did tapa. Specifically, Prabhupada was saying this morning, from years ago, underwater, undergoing austerities underwater for hundreds of years. And he was already this super qualified person. So what about us? Kind of hopeless, right? Toss in the towel and say, hopeless. But not hopeless. The Bhagavatam is not message of hopelessness. The Bhagavatam is a message of here's how you move from the position of taking a body. Taking a body means attention that's away from Krishna. I want to enjoy separate from Krishna. Okay, here's a body. Good luck. Wait a minute. There's no happiness over here. Yeah, but you wanted it. Anyway, everyone, that's all of us, anyone who takes on a material body, is because of that fundamental misplaced desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. And, following that one comes dukkha, without exception. It's just the nature of the place. Having a body in this place, it means dukkha. So choose your austerity. One that's aimed at Krishna or one that's aimed at, I want to enjoy. Well, a little bit of both things. But the message is where that's gone. And how does it become gone? By the power of hearing. With an urge to hear. Sounds like do something to get something, but in the very elevated stages, it's not I'll hear and chant because I'll get free from my desires, and my desires are driving me crazy. That's okay here, even if that's the consciousness, but in more elevated stages, it's because the topics are so a word that Prabhupada used is tasty. There's so much rasa in the topic of Krishna that I can't, and there's no enough. Please take it away, I've had enough. Like something with material satiation of eating or drinking or something. There's no phenomena like that. Because it's the platform of Krishna's happiness knows no limits, and Krishna's happiness, as we discussed yesterday evening. Not yesterday evening, evening before yesterday. Nice topic. Bhakti gives pleasure to the source of bhakti. Krishna's Atmarama position is enhanced or overflows with even superior joy when a bhakti that's invested in the jiva is offered again back to the source. Krishna is very happy. His happiness increases, and that's the happiness of the devotee. That's the happiness of love. And there's nothing that compares to it. It's not like, I love ice cream. Mango ice cream particularly. I really love mango ice cream. Not that kind of love. Love. The object, the happiness of the object of love is the happiness of the carrier of that feeling of love. That's real. The science is there, and how to apply the science. So these verses in the early part of chapter 2 give the science. It's not like, biology and chemistry kind of science. You mix this with that, and you get such and such compound, and blah, 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 under this temperature and that pressure and all that. That's material science, and this is a spiritual science. how to get beyond, what's the cause that gets beyond cause and effect. Sounds like word juggling, right? What's the cause that carries one beyond cause and effect? But, devotional service is the hearing and chanting about the topics of Krishna, the name of Krishna, the pastime of Krishna, etc., etc. It's in that realm. It's the cause of all causes, beyond cause and effect. It cleanses the desire for material enjoyment. And as that progresses, then the real desire emerges, or residual effect of that cleansing is the real desire becomes more and more prominent. The original desire was covered by other. When the other is removed, then the original desire emerges. So that's the bhakti process. Self-realization. By removal of coverings that cover who the self really is, what happiness really is, what love really is, what life really is. It's a nice science. It worked. Just like, with material laws. There's the laws of this and that. We say laws of karma. One who does something that's sinful, then that sinful comes back. Sinful reaction. Unless there's something that clears the sinful tendency, not just even the sinful reaction. And that's what the bhakti process does. Even the tendency to do such things, to have the desire to be an independent enjoyer, is cleansed. The potency is there to cleanse. It's a very, very strong cleanser. Gentle, at the same time very strong. Even the most difficult of stains can be cleansed by this cleanser. This tendency or that tendency can't stand. I'll read this verse one more time. We'll end. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. I mean, this verse number 17 could easily go towards the beginning, because there are Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya says something similar in an earlier verse. But so that just says it slightly differently, but very much the same message, no surprise. The repetition is not a problem either. For clear understanding, sometimes repetition is needed. And then live one's life accordingly. To the point where it's not just like add a little this and that and then stir. And comes, purity. A beginning may be like that. But the mature stage is not just mix my material with my Krishna consciousness stir. And then the material consciousness is now gone. It's just spiritual consciousness. There's a letting go of those desires. Paramatma cleanses, and sometimes living entities can let a whole bunch of things go, but there's certain cherished ones they hold on to. And you can take other things, that's fine. Super soulic, don't take that one. And he doesn't interfere, but the cleansing goes on, as long as the application of the cleansing process goes on. The science. Let's see if there's some discussion. Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Yeah.
Krishna Maharaj, I was wondering if you could speak about envy of Krishna.
Envy of Krishna. Well, the principle of envy is over there's somebody that has something that I want. And the non-envious is, that's okay. I'm happy that they have that thing. And that I want that thing and they have that thing. That's okay because that makes them happy. But envious, I don't want them to have that thing because I'm being deprived of it. So the fundamental is enjoying spirit. Krishna, he's the Purusha, and we're Prakriti. So the Prakriti wants to be Purusha. I want to be the enjoyer. I don't want to be the enjoyed. I want to be the enjoyer. So I'm envious of that position of enjoyment. That's envy. And then, different manifestations and varieties, sub-varieties of those varieties. But the principle is it's false ego. The Prakriti, para Prakriti, superior nature as distinct from the inferior nature. I don't want to be para Prakriti. I want to be Purusha. And someone else is Purusha, so I envy. I want that position. But somebody already is occupying that position. Envy. More?
We hear, we talk about the soul as pure, and then there's the false ego covering and the body covering.
Yeah.
And the body covering is reflecting the false ego covering, I guess. But
Yes.
What I'm trying to get to is there any chance that the envy starts at the soul level? Because how did the false ego even come if there's not even a tinge of envy? How did we even leave it?
How does it what?
How did
it begin?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, it's sick again and again and again and again and again and again, in cycles of repeated cosmic manifestations and manifestations of false ego, living entities thrown into the pradhan, which becomes differentiated, and there's false ego covers the souls. So, since time immemorial. So how did it begin? That which is since time immemorial. It's, in principle, it's not chronological, but it's a principle. The imitating, wanting to have the position, it's the same to, the desire of wanting the position. That's a false ego desire. I want to be Purusha. I want to be the enjoyer. Instead of I want to be the servant of of he who is the enjoyer. I want to assist he who is the enjoyer to enjoy. Love. So we depart from the love position and into the envy position or the false ego position. And then comes, this is the fall of the jiva question. How did it get started? Once upon a time. And then that whole question. If that's what you're asking, is that what you're asking? Not exactly.
Sort of, but I feel like I sort of know the answer to my question, but it sounds like envy should come from the soul at some point.
Well, yeah. The desire is of the soul, concomitant with the soul, the desire. But then there's ignorant desire or false ego contaminated desire. So misplaced desire. Abandoning love and accepting the alternative. False ego one. I want to be the enjoyer. So it does come from the soul, yes. Misplaced. When ignorance covers soul, but desire is pure, desire may become distorted. Not pure. Contaminated. It's of the soul. But it's of the contamination that covers the soul, but the contamination that covers the soul is a consequence of that misplaced desire. It's of the soul. And then the removal of that envy or the removal of the covering is by the medium of service. That's reawakened by hearing. And the reawakened desire is what we're hearing. It's the hearing of the message of be the servant, please. Find happiness in the position where there's real happiness. Being the servant. And that's the starting. Jiva Swarupai Nityara Krishna. So it's Jiva. We're servants. No. I want to be the enjoyer. I want to be the master, not the servant. Don't give me that demeaning message, please. It's of the soul. Others? Yeah.
If someone has developed the urge to hear his messages, even if they are new, just starting, if they hear every day 10 minutes, Krishna will take it.
It sounds like a statement, not a question.
I'm asking if Krishna will...
You're asking what?
If they hear every day 15 minutes, Bhagavad then Krishna will take care of them for them.
Well, yes and no. There's the qualitative, not quantitative. So that's the no answer. It's not mechanical. It's devotional. Is it possible that one can mechanically something, and there's no transformation of heart? Yes, it's possible. Something is transformation, but or cleansing, but not the U-turn kind. It's the mixed kind. No, so it's not mechanical, devotional. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. And last couple of weeks you've been talking about this idea from Srila Goswami that pure devotee doesn't even want liberation.
A pure devotee doesn't.
Want even liberation, he only wants to serve. And the other thing he says is he doesn't even want to go home to Goloka. And I'm curious in terms of cosmic geography, where is his service going to take place? It's not on Earth. It's not.
Well, so, back to Godhead is not a change of address. It's a change of consciousness, or say the same thing a different way. One can be back to Godhead in Palatine, or wherever, or in the material world, birth after birth. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But it's just one thing: causeless devotional service. That's back to Godhead. Now, that's a way of understanding back to Godhead. Commonly, we think, differently. There's, the structure of the universe, and then there's the coverings of the universe, and there's beyond the universe, and there's Vaikuntha realm, and uppermost in the Vaikuntha realm is Goloka, and that's back to Godhead. Jai, change my dress. Like as if it's like a heavenly planet, and you need piety to get to the heavenly to the heavenly realm. So invest in your piety bank account, and the bell rings, and you're in the piety realm. That's not back to Godhead. It's consciousness. Yeah. Well, it's in one sense, it's an explanation can be given that sounds like a change of address. There's just a nice picture, and there's Goloka, and what goes on in Goloka, and this is what I want to be there. So I want to be in the back to Godhead realm. Thank you. So there's ways of describing it that looks like how we think, but it's not really. That's not what back to Godhead means. And those that are situated in the Vaikuntha realm, what to speak of Goloka realm, there's a consciousness. The eligibility for entrance into that realm is consciousness, not a visa and a passport. Yeah.
In material world, like conditioned living entities are so wired to think in terms of cause and effect, that do something, like for example in this is a very very powerful purport, Maharaj. Every time it comes in front, it strikes really differently. Srila Prabhupada's language and everything, reading by you, good mind. So like the brain thinks in terms of cause and effect always, like this purport says, do some service. Then in that sense also, one might think that, I did so much service, but I don't see much progress is happening in my heart. But today, as you emphasize this point also, that what's the cause that carries one beyond the cause and effect. So ultimately, this is all about the bhakti.
Yeah, it's a relationship. Super Soul cleanses the heart of a sincere candidate.
Yeah.
There's an adjective.
Yeah.
Sincere.
Mm-hmm. So Maharaj, can you please elaborate little more on qualitative hearing? I want to properly understand that what is qualitative and what should be our consciousness.
Okay. A good definition, you've heard me say this several hundred times. Good definition is inclusive and exclusive. So exclusive, that's the easier one. It's not this and it's not that. Not jnana and karma. It's not of the material. It's not of the cause and effect. And then you become the enjoyer of the effect because you did the cause nicely. Not that. It's not that. So if it's not that, then what is it? That's what you're asking. But it's say what it isn't. Yeah. We can take a look at the consciousness, the expression of consciousness of Dhruva and Prahlad, for example, two very important sections of the Bhagavatam. Those persons, at least Dhruva started with having material, but he went beyond the material to the point where he didn't want. He didn't want the kingdom, and he didn't want benediction. You take what you want. Don't tempt me. They're all there is. So a symptom, the lakshana of what quality hearing is where what's the other aspiration or other desires are cleansed away or taken away or removed, leaving what? So with the purpose, so we can steer or guide our hearing in the qualitative way where, although I'm not there yet, I may desire to have no material want. But then what's the spiritual want? Engage in your service, however you want. And that's quality. It's quality hearing. That kind of hearing that has that purpose and subjective consciousness. That's quality.
Little follow.
Like as I heard you this answer, Maharaj, and also my thoughts are going to, like when we engage in the duties, and you have always said that like dovetailing and yukta vairagya principle, but ultimately they are not the direct service to Krishna.
What are they? That's a pronoun.
So
what does they refer to?
Like for example, job or interacting with the material world, not necessarily they are like thinking of Krishna or interacting with many such people.
Sure.
So that feels again and again that, oh, this is a time when we are not really engaging in remembrance or anything. We are so absorbed in figuring this agreement or this or that. So
you're just describing material consciousness in contrast to spiritual consciousness.
Yeah. So there are those patches of time when it is like very dry patch where it is like really very feels like it's very insecure place. So and that time this principle, that yukta vairagya principle, is not really coming into my heart. So how I am probably I'm not understanding it properly to how to apply that principle. Otherwise that feeling won't come of dryness or like emptiness or insecurity.
Is it possible for a pure devotee to have those feelings? Yes or no? Which feeling? The feelings you just described. Those feelings. Is it not possible The answer is it's possible, and that the person who is having that feeling, there's the sense of feeling oneself separate from the object of love. So what's at the center is the key. Is it about me or about Krishna? Is it about me? Is it about me and my mind and my, stuff? Or is it about Krishna? No. And so if you're passing through you're not purified yet. That's okay. Keep going. And expect that the road to Krishna consciousness is going to have those patches, as you're using the phrase. Because of, who knows how long contamination in ritual existence. Okay?
Today's verse is right on that.
What?
Today's verse is also right on that point, like
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you for a wonderful lecture, Guru Maharaj. Very beginning you started with Sarva Dharman Parityajya, and you very wonderfully explained that what is the Sarva Dharman. So Guru Maharaj, I just want to need a clarification, like, when we say that the dharma which we are performing to get something, that is the category which Sarva Dharman, right?
It's a category of?
To getting something.
It's the category that's being described in Bhagavad Gita 1866.
Mm-hmm.
But there's paradharma, where the object is clear. The target is clear. That Krishna should be pleased. That's paradharma. And then the other is, I'm to be pleased. I do this to get that.
So my question is, Guru Maharaj, like when we're talking to someone, like when we are saying that Sarva Dharman means like it is not specific to any religious practices, right?
Well, the religious practices that are performed with some material incentive, as in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, material incentive, then I'm at the center. So it's not that. Clear?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to clear, when we communicate, they should not understand that, okay, he's asking me
You have to understand.
accept, yeah.
They may understand whatever they're going to understand. And you're not in charge of what they're going to understand. But you should understand. And if it may not require this kind of discussion. It may require this kind of discussion. So you have to see. Some people don't make that equation of Dharma in 1866 means I want an upgrade into the heavenly realm. Thank you. They just think of Dharma as, a straight, you do good. Do that which is dharmic. Live, perform your, this thing about occupation. Let me be honest. Let me not cheat. Let me not steal. That, I'm a dharmic person. I'm truthful, clean. I'm a good Boy Scout. Truthful, friendly, clean, brave, and reverent. Boy Scout. That's Dharma. I'm a dharmic person. That's what, many people think that. It's just the recommendation is not trash that. There's different ways of saying all this. So here's another way of saying this. Supposing there's a chandelier. Now that's just a light fixture, but supposing there's a chandelier. And then, from the chandelier is hanging down from the ceiling, and there's crystal, and there's lights behind the crystal, and, that's a chandelier. But the chandelier has to be suspended from the ceiling. And that suspended from the ceiling is paradharma. So without it, there's something superior to the chandelier. That's which supports the chandelier. Of course, electricity as well. But superior to dharma is paradharma. We don't abandon, but you can't just leave the chandelier on the floor. You have to hang it. Suspended for what? Krishna is to be pleased. That's that. Mame kam sharanam. It's another way of saying the same thing. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.